from Shawanda Hill that when they got back into the car, right, they had a conversation for a few minutes, and suddenly Mr. Floyd fell asleep. All of these things become important. That he had trouble. They had trouble waking him up. She called her daughter for a ride because they couldn't wake Mr. Floyd up. They couldn't keep him awake. We heard how Mr. Martin described Mr. Floyd when he went back to the car, and how he was, oh no, and he wasn't speaking, right? But he kept putting his head back and shaking his head. We know from Peter Chang's body-worn camera that Maurice Hall also described that Mr.
Tiger
Floyd
looks
was
really
dozing
strong
off.
still, CB. 1 hour buy signal hasn't closed yet, 26 minutes until it closes, but the daily hasn't run away from its daily buy yet. So it hasn't played out that signal just yet.
That whether Mr. Floyd was chewing gum while he was in the
You guys are coming into stream. I'm listening to the closing statements
we can also see he was eating
of the Chauvin trial. You guys can probably hear in the background. I'm going to try to keep it very quiet.
a banana.
Very slow day, so I need something to do. Hey, Aviv.
So we know when we look at this picture, right, there's something in Mr. Floyd's mouth. Is it gum? Is it banana? Is it drugs? Nobody knows, right? But regardless of whether it's drugs, bananas, or gum in this incident, we know that there were pills in the car.
Yeah, but if you look at the daily buys on Tiger, CB, almost every single one of them had a very strong reaction. You have a few of them where they pull back a little bit, but most of them recently had pretty strong reactions. I also like the daily buy because it's being backed up by a 1 hour and a 4 hour as well. I don't trade this stock. I honestly don't. I wouldn't trade it, but it's not bad. Like, if you guys like Tiger, it's not a bad chart, but I don't trade Tiger.
We know
Tiger's too sloppy for me.
at some point Mr. Floyd was handcuffed.
I try to trade as little. It's Chinese, right?
It would have been physically impossible.
I try not to trade Chinese companies. They like to gap a lot. They like to move erratically.
The squad car.
They're very risky.
20 were pills. We know those pills were analyzed. We know those pills consisted of fentanyl and methamphetamine. We know that Mr. Floyd's salivary...
Fernando, I'm listening to the Derek Chauvin trial. There's closing statements. I don't know if I'm allowed to listen to it on YouTube. We'll see. I'll probably get banned. I mean, it's being live streamed on YouTube, so I should be alright.
This is from the Minneapolis Police Department's training. Approximately 2 to 3 milligrams. Smaller than a penny. This is from the squad car. You can look at these pictures closely during the course of your evidence. There is a video of Mr. Floyd.
It's just a slow day, so I wanted something to listen to.
Being subdued by and restrained by the police.
Spy and Qs are a little toppy for you guys just coming in on stream. Friday's candle was a evening star on Spy. It was a hanging man on Qs, and it's being confirmed on both of them today with a sell-off. It's also being confirmed with a resistance being put in on both of them. You can also go to the lower time frames, and they're already selling off on the bot. 1 hour buy signal, 50-minute buy signal, or sorry, sell signal, 50-minute sell signal, 4 hour not just yet. Also not a daily sell signal. 5 minute trying to flip into a buy, but not going to last long, I don't think. Sell signal on the 30. 1 hour, as we said. 2 hour, not yet. So we're waiting on the 2 hour. That's the highest time frame that has not flipped into a sell just yet. $50 minutes trying to bounce a little bit here on SPY. We'll see if it can last.
Incredible to me. It is incredible to me. Every single doctor testified that relevant to the absence of signs of fentanyl.
Dogecoin to $1. It doesn't look bad, man. It looks like it wants to run again.
He was alert. He was talking, but it ignores what Shawanda Hill and Maurice Hall says, right? That he was.
Look at the daily on this thing. So look at the daily. And go back to the 4 hour that I called out before we broke out. It looks pretty much identical. Little ascending triangle here. Ripped out.
Fentanyl is a powerful sedative. They use it for
kind of the same pattern.
Every single doctor dismissed outright. No, nothing about this case.
If you have a $500 account, you probably should not be using leverage. Unless you're doing like a small account challenge where you're purposely using high leverage. I've done a few small account challenges over the years where we've started with like 500, 750. We did one where we started with 1,000, I think. And like on those accounts, we were purposely using high leverage to see if we could grow the account very quickly. But it's very risky. The last one I did, we did one with like $750. We dropped it all the way down to like, I think like 500, and then we tripled it. We made it to like 1,500. I think it ended up being like close to 2,000, if I remember correctly. We made like 140%. But yeah, very risky.
I guarantee you the answer is no. Dr. Rich is the only one who said, I would never recommend to my patients that they take any amount of illicit methamphetamine. It is preposterous that
margin should not be being used until you know what you're doing, basically.
Into play here.
That's why almost every crypto trader loses money.
I don't want to interrupt your argument, but
I apologize.
members of the jury, 30 minutes for lunch, please. Thank you.
Looks like they're convening the trial. What was I saying? Oh, leverage. You basically, until you know what you're doing, you don't want to use too much leverage. And even when you do know what you're doing, you shouldn't be using more than like 3 to 5x leverage, honestly. You don't need high leverage to make money in a market like this. You use high leverage when the market is very slow, and you like have to use high leverage to make some bigger percentage gains. You don't need high leverage when the market's moving like 20, 30%, 40%. I think you're talking about crypto. I'm assuming you're talking about crypto. And when you look at these crypto coins, you don't need leverage for these things. Like, look at these things. The biggest movers today move 50%, 20%, 20%, 16, 15, 15, 10. Like, you don't need high leverage for that. Like, think about using 2x of your account on one of these trades. You use 2x of your account, you make 30%. Like, that's your maximum gain, right? You use 1x your account, you make 16%. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, I don't understand what goes through people's... Well, I do understand. It's because they want to get rich quick. But it doesn't make any sense. Like, people who trade crypto who think they have to use like massive leverage, it doesn't make any sense logically. You're talking about futures. For futures, you need way more margin than that. If you want to trade futures in the US, they've jacked up the margin requirements because of the volatility. I think it's like $13,000 per contract on ES. If you want to trade the micros, you need like 1,300, I think. It's the same for oil, I believe, 13,000 per contract. So unless you're trading micros, you still need more than that. I wouldn't start a futures account with less than like 5 to 10,000, to be honest. Even for micros, you want at least 5 to 10,000. I'll take a look at it, Jared. Did I miss any questions? Let me see. How's Tesla doing? Let me take a look. I think Tesla's fine, honestly. Above the daily pivot at 666. It's currently at 712, so it doesn't look bad. You're still in a daily buy. You took profit a few days ago. That's okay. 4-hour sell signal actually just closed. That's not too good. 1 hour was in a buy. It got stopped out. I think this flipped into a sell. Let me see. Yeah, so 1 hour's in a sell right now. 15-minute is in a buy. So very, very sloppy. It's not following the same trend on all time frames. I would say any pullback that is above like 666, 680, somewhere around there should be bullish. Sorry, my throat's killing me today. Let me see. Did I miss anything else? Compounding profit is gold. Yeah, exactly. Just compound your gains. You don't need to use high leverage. Let's take a look at the volume profile. Oh, that's the wrong one. I need the other one. Here we go. So it actually doesn't look too bad. You have a little bit of a sell-off. You're losing value. So previously our value was here. Now our value is down here. So a little bit of a bearish imbalance. But look at where we're bouncing. Value area low of Thursday. A little bit of a bounce there. You can see how we opened up on the day, pretty balanced, but then you lost VWAP. Little VWAP failure, push down, and now we're going lower. So if you lose like 41.46, very likely going to go back down to like 41.20, maybe like 41.37, somewhere around there. Definitely not looking too good. I wouldn't be bullish on this until you reclaim like 41.66. Same thing with Nasdaq, very bearish. Nasdaq already hit our target. So our lower target was like 13,825. You've already hit that target. If we lose that low, probably could go down to like 13,773 and then maybe like 13,658. You can see the value right here. This is a really nice bounce so far, but you can see how we're not able to get back above POC. That's not good. Who has earnings in 7 days? Oh, Tesla, yeah. Yeah, no problem, Jared. If Tiger closes above 2050, let me see. It's looking really good. That 50-minute buy signal is doing very well. Yeah, if it closes above 2050, it does look pretty strong. You'd be breaking the entire range that we've been in. 30-minute buy as well. 5-minute buy was really good, all the way to the bottom. Yeah, it looks pretty strong. Is Qqq still running? Yeah, Qqq is really clean. The bull flag on Qqq on the daily, with the buy signal, with the resistance break, that's very nice. 4-hour buy was good too. 1-hour buy was good. Yeah, I think Qqq and Tiger both look pretty good for tomorrow. How's Coinbase holding up? So Coinbase basically has to bounce here or it's going to get nuked. It's going to go down to like 321, 317. Big C looked really good this morning, retracing that sell-off, and then it instantly nuked.
Yeah, everything looks like shit.
Yeah, honestly.
Those stocks are still dumping, dude. It's pretty crazy. Like a lot of like the SPACs are fucking below what they were before pre-merger, like with the NAV and stuff. It's actually nuts.
Yeah, my FMAC is literally sitting at $10. The whole
Like you
market
see,
does look bad.
you see XLs at $6. Like what the fuck?
Oh god, yeah, that's not good.
This shit'll be a penny stock soon.
Holy shit, XL is getting hammered. It looks like Nikola.
Yeah, dude, shit is crazy. It makes you think how far fucking down can we go? Like, will some of these SPACs that really went fucking 100% a day gonna turn into penny stocks? Only time will tell.
Yep. Will the bot be for public use? Yeah, it will be available to the public once the testing is done. We're doing private testing in Discord right now. If you have one of our higher tiers in Discord, the 199 or the quarterly, you have access to the bot currently. We're going to open it up to the public probably later this week, as long as I can get all these bugs that we have currently fixed. I fixed most of the bugs yesterday. I think there's a few left that I got to look into. But we're still in testing right now. Hey, Gars. You said you liked the pivot strategy on YouTube. You're green on 7 of the 10 trades. Nice, man. I'm glad you liked that video. Yeah, that video was, that was a big bulk of my strategy back when I used to day trade crypto. Before I had all my indicators and stuff, when I was just trading purely price action. That strategy works very well on crypto. I haven't really tested it too much on stocks, but you can do it. You can do it on stocks if they give you those same patterns. That pattern is very common in crypto, though. Big volume coming in on Qs. It looks like it's bearish. People are selling here. People are pumping a lot of volume in the SQQQ, the bearish Qs. So, be careful here. People are betting on a top. 15-minute buy signal playing out on SQs, 1 hour playing out, no 4 hour, no daily. What about the 2 hour? 2 hour buy, yep. 3 hour buy. So the highest time frame that doesn't have a buy yet is the 4 hour. So the waterfall effect is playing out on the bot. Yeah, Alan, we'll probably have some more crypto content coming in the future. I might do some like later streams, maybe like the problem with later streams is a lot of my audience is European. So if I do like 10 o'clock streams my time, it's like 3 a.m. in Europe. But I was thinking about doing like late night streams for crypto because that's usually when crypto starts to move. Maybe some days we'll stream at like 10 or something. The DE daily trend, what is that? Deere, yeah, Deere, Home Depot, Lowe's. A lot of those companies are doing very well. Oh, is Altria nuking on that tobacco news? Holy hell, look at that. Sell signal on the 15, sell signal on the 5, sell signal on the 1 minute. It's getting murdered. Biden administration released news that they're weighing a nicotine policy alongside the ban on menthol cigarettes.
Building back better, baby.
Yeah. Doge going to fly tomorrow. A lot of talk online for major buys. It looks decent. Doesn't look too bad.
I'm talking about Doge Day,
Is that what they're saying?
apparently. My friend texted me. I'm like, okay.
420's Doge Day. LPX. Let me take a look. Yeah, look at that thing. The last daily buy on that was on January 6th. It's been running ever since. Looks a little toppy though, getting some dojis up here. Same thing on Deere. You had a buy, ran, little sell, and we're buy again. How's Home Depot doing? Home Depot is absolutely disgusting. Had a buy on dividend day on March 10th and then just straight up. That is ridiculous. Is LPX lumber? Yeah, that makes sense. I'll be right back, guys. I've got a phone call. I'll leave you guys on the Doge chart.
I think JMA had MO leaps. That's not good.
Sorry about that, I'm back. My tax guy's doing my taxes today, so he's gonna call me every now and then. Doodle said, I saw a tweet floating around, somebody getting liquidated 150K on Binance. And that Ren scam wick. Yeah, I got scammed on that wick too. I didn't get liquidated, but I did get stomped out. It was a nasty pullback. It sucks that Bitcoin nuked right as Ren was breaking out. Because I think if Bitcoin didn't nuke there, Ren's going to 140, 160 easily. Yeah, was that real though? I saw that on Twitter. Is that like actually a real wick? Like, did people actually trade down there? It went down 98%. I remember this used to happen a lot on Binance, and a lot of the times they weren't like real wicks. They weren't. There wasn't actually trades being executed at that level. But it's hard to tell. I saw people talking about that on Twitter. It's a pretty nasty wick. If you got bids filled down there, dude, you're happy. You wake up, you're up fucking 3,000%. Like, could you imagine? The bids did get filled down there? That's disgusting, dude. If you had bids at like even 20 cents, you're making fucking 300%, 400%. If you had bids at like 5 cents, Jesus. The bot told you to take profit across the board last night and you ignored it, now you're getting wrecked. Rest in peace, man. Block trade just came in on Altria. It's actually a bullish one. Somebody's buying the dip. Somebody is buying the dip. Big C nuking. Bitcoin's bouncing a little bit here. Futu still #1 volume. Yeah, look at that thing go. I should have kept an eye on that when it broke the scanner. Around like 160, 165. I don't typically like this company, so I ignore the signals. But that's a beautiful chart. 15-minute buy is up huge. 16%. 5-minute buy is up about 7%. If you caught this one down here, 16. So same place the 15-minute buy came in. 1 hour also doing very well. 1 hour is up almost 18. Any coins looking good right now? Dawn's still running. Maker breaking out a little bit. Sol still looks pretty good. That 1 hour buy on Sol's pretty strong. Daily still in a buy from way back here. 111% on that one. Serum's running a lot too. Looks a lot like Sol. Qtum. I called out Qtum the other day. It looked pretty good. Then it had that nasty wick because of Bitcoin. Holy Perp looks pretty good. I think Cake still looks pretty good. If Cake recovers to like 24, 25, it will look pretty good. Most likely breakout. BRZ, that thing's dog shit. A lot of wicks on that. How's Monero doing? That thing was pumping earlier. That's not doing too bad. Nice little wicks. Yeah, beautiful 4 hour retrace. Look at the 4 hour. The 4 hour closes like that on Monero. It's probably gonna go higher. Monero, however you want to say it. Almost every chart looks the same because of the... Oh, hold on, the trial's coming back.
Apologize again. I promise I'll try to speed things up here again. So.
Not too many charts look too good. You know they don't look good when the baskets don't look good. So when like shit perp, mid perp, alt perp, when those don't look good, usually nothing looks good. Nice. I wanted to see if the bot caught these moves on Dawn, and they did very well. If you guys like scalping with the bot, like I was saying yesterday, the best way to do it is to filter all of the perpetuals by the percentage change and look at like the top 3 or like the top 5 movers, and then just go down to like the lower time frames, like 1 minute, 5 minute, 15. Make sure they're getting good volume. And typically the bot will do very well on these. It's been slaying Doge the past few days because Doge gets good volume. It's got a lot of percentage moves. So the bot's doing well. ES doing the end of day rip. Let's see.
Be looked at, as Dr. Baker describes, a multifactorial process. This is the way the human body
It's got a nice little bottom off this support here. No buy signal just yet.
circulates. The brain thinks. The brain
No 5 minute buy either, so no bottom forming
all of this.
just yet. We'll go down to the lower time frames here so you guys can watch it.
This particular substance, or these combinations of substances, when taken in combination with each other,
When you're looking at bottoming patterns with the bot, what you want to do is, like I was saying earlier, it's like a waterfall effect. You want to watch the time frames start building the position, basically. 1 minute buy, 5 minute buy, 15 minute buy, 30 minute buy. You want to watch them come in like one by one. So right now we have a 1 minute. So now we have to wait on the 5 minute, wait on the 15, wait on the 30. And then you just trade whichever time frame that you want to stick with.
These deaths have been certified on that basis alone, and it didn't necessarily contain any of the other issues that were confronting Mr. Floyd on that day. Likewise, again, every other doctor that has testified has gone to great lengths to dismiss the role of Mr. Floyd's heart disease and hypertension in this case. Forensic pathologists define coronary artery disease resulting in death. Death can occur with 70 to 75% blockage. That is sufficient to cause a person's death. Every pathologist who testified in this case has indicated likewise that they have certified deaths with those types of blockage and attributed it to the coronary artery disease. Yet here again, this has played zero role. Dr. Rich testified Mr. Floyd had a healthy heart. Coronary heart disease, not relevant, according to the state. Hypertensive disease, not relevant. Drugs acting to further constrict an already diseased heart, not relevant.
If we look at the POC from the distribution that we've been in since like this impulse on February, the POC is right around 56, which is almost identical to where we are right now. Yeah, well, look at where we bounced too. Yeah, so if we take this candle right here, the impulse that starts this move, look at the volume profile for this move here. Value area low is almost exactly where we bounced, and then right where we're hovering is right on the POC. So what you want to see is you want to see a break above like 61.5, the value area high, and then we can start to push higher into like 70,000.
Now,
Yeah, I'm listening to the
Dr.
George Floyd
Tobin
trial.
describes the death of Mr. Floyd.
It's the closing statement, so I wanted to listen to it.
Understand again to hypoxia, low oxygen, resulting in brain, going to the brain, low oxygen to the brain. Dr. Fowler also ascribes the death to hypoxic death, but that the heart was the muscle that did not get the oxygen, resulting in a sudden cardiac arrhythmia. The reasons that Dr. Fowler dismissed the notion of brain hypoxia are because, number one, hypoxia of the brain results in certain observable symptoms.
Yeah, that buy up
Brain
got
demands
flipped
more
really
oxygen.
quickly. See how the 1 minute back
It
into a
takes
sell,
20%
no
of
5 minute
oxygen
buy,
to function
no
the brain,
15 minute
even
buy,
though
no
it's
30 minute
1/5.
buy.
It's a
So very
small
weak so far.
percentage of our body. It is the most sensitive.
Check out
to
a
the loss of
VLDR
and it
on the
reveals
4
a
hour.
progressive set of symptoms. Confusion, which was not exhibited, right? Because if you compare...
Yeah, but he is on trial for murder, King. So his lawyer does have to do a pretty good job.
Yeah, but dude, this should have taken forever. It's been,
Yeah.
what, like 3 months, 4 months? Like, damn, dude, get the shit over with. Nobody really.
Well, it's the 15th day of the trial. Yeah.
Caused by a sudden cardiac...
No, I was
arrhythmia.
thinking the same thing where he kept saying like, "Oh, I'll try to make it quick." I'm thinking like, fuck the Chauvin doesn't want you to make it quick. He wants you to take as much time as you can.
Dr. Tobin stated, you would see an increased ventilation or respiratory rate. But Dr. Tobin said it is a completely normal respiratory rate, 22 breaths per minute. The timeline in this case is consistent with a sudden cardiac arrhythmia. At 8:23 and 58 seconds, Mr. Floyd speaks. I really can't breathe.
No, I don't trade directly from TradingView. I would if they allowed me, but the only brokers they're connected to are like dog shit brokers that nobody uses.
he again verbalizes, "Please, I can't breathe," indicating at 8:24:09 that his brain has up to his airway. 39 seconds later, Mr. Floyd goes limp at 8:24:48. Person can hold their breath for 39 seconds, right? That does not result in hypoxia in 39 seconds. 27 seconds later, according to Dr. Tobin, Mr. Floyd takes his last breath. It's a total of 66 seconds, 1 minute and 6 seconds from the time that we know there's enough oxygen in his brain to speak. No occlusion to the airway at that point. 66 seconds from his last word to his last breath. This timeline is consistent with a sudden cardiac arrhythmia. It is not consistent with the longer process of brain hypoxia. Dr. Fowler's final analysis.
They're most likely not going to have a verdict today, I don't think.
Arrhythmia due to atherosclerotic and hypertensive cardiovascular disease during restraint by police. Other significant factors: fentanyl intoxication, methamphetamine intoxication, possible CO, carbon monoxide exposure, and the paraganglioma. What role did Mr. carbon monoxide play in Mr. Floyd's death? We don't know. Nothing was ever tested as far as the vehicle is concerned. We don't know if the car was emitting carbon monoxide. We don't know. One thing we do know is that it was running. And how can we tell that it was running? Because in the video we watched earlier, when Thomas Lane pulls in that squad car at Cup Foods, he puts it in gear, he takes it out of gear, he puts it in park. He never touches the keys of that vehicle, and he gets out. The car was running. I have one last point to make, and I should be fairly quick with this. The superseding cause that was discussed. A superseding cause is a cause that comes after the defendant's acts, alters the natural sequence of events, and is the sole cause of a result that would not have otherwise occurred. Now, let's look at the medical timeline.
I got a similar text today. Did you know Doge Day was tomorrow?
Yeah, it's a top signal, dude.
8:20 and 11 seconds. We know that EMS was stepped up to code 3 at 8:21 and 35 seconds. We know that EMS responded to Cub Foods.
I'd say at the top of the chart didn't look so good.
At 8:27 and 27 seconds. We know that EMS called for fire at 20:38:36. It takes approximately 3 minutes for EMS and the arresting officers to put Mr. Floyd into the ambulance, and the ambulance pulls away from Cup Foods at 8:30 and 17 seconds. Fire responds to Cup Foods at 8:32:59. That's 4 minutes and 15 seconds after they were called. That's pretty close in consideration to the 3-minute expectation of Ms. Hansen. But the ambulance had driven several blocks away to 36 and Park, arriving sometime between 8:31 and 8:33. That's 1.5, and we know that because there are
Stunk posted this chart on Twitter. I wanted to take a look at it, see how the bot handled it. Pretty disgusting. Played it perfectly. Pretty disgusting.
minutes after Mr. Floyd went unconscious, per Dr. Tobin, but it is 7 minutes and 46 seconds after EMS responded to Cup Foods. We ultimately know that the ambulance left 36 and Park at 8:48 and 23 minutes. It arrived at HCMC at 8:53, shortly after 8:53. So it took about 5 minutes to get from 36 and Park to HCMC. what would have happened if EMS had started resuscitative efforts right away? What would have happened if rather than driving to 36 and Park, they went to the hospital? They would have been there in that time. I am not suggesting to you, that the ambulance paramedics did anything wrong. But it raises the prospect of that continued delay in resuscitation. What if EMS had administered Narcan? We heard that it would not have hurt him, and it could have helped him. I'm not blaming the paramedics. More importantly than this analysis is, it shows that human beings make decisions
3 minutes until market close.
stressful situations that they believe
You had a waiter tell you about Dogecoin? Oh, God.
in the very moment it is occurring. There's lots of what ifs that could have happened. What could have happened, what should have happened. Lots of them in lots of regards. But we have to analyze this case from the perspective of a reasonable
Another buy
police
signal on
officer
ES
at
trying to
the
come in
precise
here. A
moment
little bottom for me.
totality of the circumstances when it comes to the use of force. We have to look at the cause of death to determine, did Mr. Floyd die exclusively of asphyxia, or were there other contributing factors that were not the natural result of Mr. Chauvin's acts? Right? Things that happened that were set in motion before Mr. Chauvin ever arrived. The drug ingestion, right? The bad heart, the diseased heart, the hypertension. All of these things existed before Mr. Chauvin arrived. The struggle, what role did the struggle play? We know, based on a prior incident, that Mr. Floyd's heart was beating at 219 over 160 in a situation where he was confronted by police and had ingested drugs. He didn't die that day. All of this, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, all of this, when you take into consideration the presumption of innocence and proof beyond a reasonable doubt, I would submit to you that it is nonsense to suggest that none of these other factors had any.
I'm not going to lie. Before I listened to the closing statements, I thought
That is not reasonable.
Chauvin was going to get railed.
And when
but
you, as
He
members
might honestly
conclude your analysis,
get slapped with like something very, very
when
small.
you review the entirety of the evidence, when you
Little
review
final pump here in the closing candle
law
on ES.
as written, and you conclude it all within this.
Yeah, a little pumpy.
All
There you go.
within
1 minute.
a
1 minute
thorough,
buy, 5 minute
honest
buy,
analysis.
15-minute buy.
The state has failed to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt.
Market is
Therefore,
closed. ES is going to run for a
Mr.
little bit
Chauvin
here,
should be
probably.
found not guilty of all counts. Thank you.
How did SPY and Qq's Daily? Oh, he ended his closing statement right as the bell ended.
The jury, there's an issue I need to discuss with the lawyers, so we're gonna send you back to your room for probably about 5 minutes.
How did the SPY Daily close? Let's see. So not terrible. You got a nice bottom wick, but this is an evening star, and you have a gap up and a gap down. So textbook, this is bad. The textbook says this is very bad. Now the bottom wick kind of makes it a little bit better, but this 3 candle setup here is very bad. Typically this is top. And we also have gaps below us here, here, and here.
Right. Immediately before the court was ready to resume, the state indicated it wanted to talk in chambers, but for a curative instruction, there's no need to go into chambers. What's your motion?
This is also not good.
Oh, you can be seated, but we need you.
Let me mute this. This is a hanging man setup with resistance. So not good. Gap up, gap down, long wick. This helps a little bit, having a bottom wick, but that's not good. You do have a resistance here that flipped into support. You got a gap right here that would be the obvious target. So a little bit of support around like 331 to 335. But like I said, textbook and daily close on Qs, daily close on SPY, both not good.
Or knew that she would violate the law. But that is what Mr. Nelson argued before the jury. And so we're requesting the court give a curative instruction to the jury as follows: that it is not necessary for the state to prove that the defendant intended to act unlawfully, only that the defendant intentionally applied force to another, that this application of force was unlawful, and that this application of force resulted in bodily harm. I believe that is a correct statement of the law.
Which is contrary to what the court instructed in the first set of instructions.
Your Honor, I believe the court's instruction was that the intentional infliction of bodily harm requires the proof that the defendant intentionally applied unlawful force to another person without that person's consent, and that this act resulted in...
There are a lot of coins, a lot of perps that are looking like they're trying to form the head of a bulldog, but it looks kind of weak.
Unlawful, merely that he intended to apply the force, which was unlawful.
Yeah, the bulldog usually shows up after a liquidity event like we had yesterday, or what was that, 2 days ago?
Yeah.
Which starts at the bottom of page 2 and goes on to page
So many of the
3,
charts look identical.
which specifically states that if an attorney's argument contains any statement of the law that differs from the law I give you, disregard the attorney's statement. I'll reread that, turn it over to Mr. Blackwell, who I assume will answer this exact question, or this exact issue in his rebuttal.
We do ask the court's guidance on another issue, and that is Mr. Nelson
ZRX and
argued,
Ren,
quote,
they look
Mr.
identical.
Chauvin thought that he was following
Yeah, almost every
his
chart
training.
looks identical because of the liquidation.
There was no testimony from Mr. Chauvin, and he didn't argue that they could infer that. He argued that they thought that. Placing that in context puts us in a difficult position in that we can't comment on his failure to testify, but that statement is...
Yeah, it could be a 1 hour bulldog on Bitcoin.
With the evidence in the record.
I'm not sure, dude. I don't think it is.
They're all in the 1 hour.
So Mr. Chauvin thought he was following his training.
What was the context in?
Well, it was in your use of force discussion, and you were talking about a reasonable officer following his training. You indicated that Mr. Chauvin thought he was following his training.
I don't recall saying it, Your Honor. I mean,
Even if you did, it was drowned out by a reasonable officer. I think it's a reasonable inference to draw from the evidence that exists. Even his statement to Mr. McMillan essentially was an indirect way of saying he was following his training. It's a reasonable inference for counsel to argue from the evidence. And to respond to that specifically by saying there's no evidence would in fact be commenting on his right to remain silent. So the bind the state is always in. So, but as far as the other issues, you can talk about re-quoting what the elements are on assault in the 3rd degree, and also anything else that you think was a misstatement of law. I will read them, the statements of judges and attorneys, if you wish. And actually, before I do that, do you want me to read that? Reread that, or should I?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I don't want to force it on you, but that would be is to remind them that any statement of the law that differs from mine should be disregarded.
And I would also ask that you reread the instruction on causation, because I believe that what Mr. Nelson argued was that the state is required to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the other issues that he spoke about had no effect, right, had no causal.
I'll hang out on stream here for another probably 15-20 minutes. If you guys want me to take a look at any crypto coins, let me know. Crypto's still open, obviously, 24/7. The stock market has closed. I'm just listening to the final statements here on the trial.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Let's bring the jury back.
principal argument in terms of contradicting the defense argument. Like, the state made comments about essentially about the nonsense of the defense in this case, and it is improper.
I know what you're going to say. We'll hold that thought. There, be seated. Mr. Blackwell, you may get the state's rebuttal. Members of the jury, before Mr. Blackwell begins, I'm going to reread one of the instructions. And that is specifically that attorneys are officers of the court, and it is their duty to make objections they think proper and to argue their client's cause. However, the arguments or other remarks of an attorney are not evidence. If the attorneys or I have made or should make any statement as to what the evidence is that differs from your recollection of the evidence, you should disregard that statement and rely solely on your own memory. If an attorney's argument contains any statement of the law that differs from the law I give you, disregard the attorney's statement. Mr. Blackwell.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Last lawyer, I think, talking to you with closings will be me, and I won't be too long. I'm going to start talking to you about what I call the 46th witness. You actually have heard from 45 witnesses on the stand, but there is a 46th witness. And this witness was testifying to you before you got here to the courtroom. They testified over everybody else's testimony on the stand. It's the only witness that will be talking to you when you're back in deliberation. And that witness, ladies and gentlemen, is common sense. Common sense. We'll continue talking with you all the while, because while you've heard hours and hours and hours of discussions here in the closing.
You're eyeballing RLC. Let me take a look. RLC, you mean the stock? I don't see that crypto anywhere. Oh, here we go. It's not on FTX. Gotcha. It's actually running right now.
10-year-old girl.
5-minute buy signal ripping.
Get off of him. That's how simple it was.
15-minute buy.
Get off of him.
1 hour buy.
Why is it necessary?
4 hour buy. Yeah, it looks good.
To continue applying
nice little
deadly
bottom too.
restraint to a man who is defenseless, who is handcuffed, who is not resisting, who is not breathing, who doesn't have a pulse, and to go on and do that for another 3+ minutes before the ambulance shows up, and then to continue doing it. How is that a reasonable exercise in the use of force? You can believe your eyes, ladies and gentlemen. It was what you thought it was. It was what you saw. It was homicide. Now, Mr. Nelson spent quite a bit of time saying to you, perform an honest assessment. Look at all the evidence. Consider all of it. Reasonable
do you like Qdom?
Officers, not magic words.
I liked Qdom before the Bitcoin nuke. It was actually one of my favorite charts.
The hourly is printing a buy right now.
As reasonable does. And
it's still running really hard, actually, after the Bitcoin nuke. That would have been really nice to catch bids on that nuke.
Mr. Chauvin, the whole narrative cut off before we got
yeah, it's up huge.
That Mr. Floyd was not moving.
Yeah, the buy on the 1 hour is perfect. You saw the Bitcoin nuke, the 1 hour shifted into a buy, and then boom. So that's what you're looking for on a lot of these coins, is like the macros, the 1 to 4 hour. You want those to flip into buys.
Now, given there's a new buy signal, I mean, is it, you think that this is just a pullback, or?
Yeah, that's probably like a little bull flag. Is the 4 hour in a buy yet? Yeah, 4 hours already a buy. And daily still a buy. 2 hour, 3 hour, they all look good. Yeah, it looks like continuation to me. 15-minute, 30-minute, 5-minute. Yeah, almost every time frame's a buy. Looks pretty solid.
Story. What you're going to reach when you all deliberate is a verdict. Verdict is a Latin word that means the truth. You're not going to reach a story when all is said and done. You'll be getting at the truth. Why are we engaged in telling stories when we've heard evidence, facts from the stand? Why is that? But you just heard a number of them. I'll give you a few examples of the stories. You were just talked to about how safe the prone position is. And you've heard this in the trial. The prone position is safe. Here are the Canadian studies. After everything you've heard, you already know now that not a single one of those studies ever examined anybody who had a knee on the neck. You know that. You also know that about these so-called prone studies, none of them actually measured what was the oxygen reserve. That is, how is the oxygen
This guy's
actually
doing
being
a lot
affected by
better
putting somebody in the prone
than
position
the
and any
other
amount of weight on
opening
them? Never
statement
even
from the
measured.
prosecution.
You know that too, although that wasn't brought up when you were being told about the studies to show that the prone position is safe. You heard again about excited delirium. There was not a single witness who sat in that chair and gave you testimony under oath who told you.
Wow,
that they
IBM
felt
actually
George
beat
Floyd suffered
earnings,
from
and now
excited
they're
delirium.
moving. Fucking A.
Not one.
Q1, they crushed me.
One of the criteria for excited delirium is the person's impervious to pain. They don't feel pain.
Wow, it's
They're
flying
like
after
people saying,
us.
my neck hurts. My knee hurts. Everything hurts. They're not grimacing because their wrist hurt for excited delirium. That's a fact. If that's a fact, why are we talking about it? Why isn't that?
Yeah,
safe?
definitely,
You're gonna
Alan.
be
Buy
hearing about
blood in
excited
bull
delirium.
markets.
Then we turn to Dr. Baker, for example, where there's a discussion of homicide, and you were told that homicide was a medical term. That's not what Dr. Baker said. Dr. Baker said homicide means killed at the hands of another. It means at the hands of another is what homicide means. At the hands of another. And he was pretty clear in discussing the cause of death. He said it was cardiopulmonary arrest, complicating law enforcement, subdual, restraint, and neck compression.
Jesus, Gainsey made $24,000 in affiliate fees on
He said
FTX
it
in
means
one
in
day.
the environment of. So it
Jesus
reads as though
Christ.
it's called cardiopulmonary arrest in the environment of
That's sickening.
law enforcement, subdual, restraint, and neck compression. What you were just told, and that was attributed to Dr. Baker, is that somehow he meant that this was an unexpected result. It was an unexpected result of the law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression.
All right, guys, I'm going to end the stream. I'm going to go watch this on my TV, get off the computer for a little bit. Appreciate you guys being here as always. I'll be streaming again tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern. I stream 5 days a week. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe if you're new here. Like I said, we might have some more crypto content coming later. I might do some like late night streams, maybe if Sticky and JMA are hanging out and we're doing some late night trading or something. We might throw the stream on or something. We'll see. But all right, guys, keep an eye on my Twitter. I might be releasing a public beta test for the bot sometime this week if I can get it all sorted. If not, most likely within 2 weeks. So just keep an eye on Twitter. Discord, I'll be having analysis posted later tonight, probably around 8, 9 o'clock. And that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.